Kidnapped, tortured, their priest murdered, a family from Syria is forced to flee, finding asylum here in the United States. Hello, I'm Lydia Talbot. Welcome to Sanctuary. In this edition of Sanctuary, we meet the Al-Khoury family and take a closer look at growing evidence of widespread persecution of minority Christian communities and efforts by faith communities here in Chicago, the United States government, and the United Nations to find ways to support and protect some of the world's most vulnerable people. Join us for some ideas on peace, justice, and the reduction of human suffering that will challenge what you think about your politics and your faith today on Sanctuary.
My name is Shadi Al-Khoury. The war in our country, which is Syria, it changed our life dramatically. I was kidnapped before the war, the civil war, or we can say it's a religion war. I was walking from my office to my home. There is a couple of armed people. They are radical people. They kidnapped me and I spent about 1 month in captivity.
It was Thursday night. I was waiting for him for dinner. You know, it's the time for his coming. So I called him many times by his cell phone. So his cell phone was out of service. So I went to his office. Nobody in the office. And so we know that but after this noisy and we can be sure that he was kidnapped.
Actually, I can say they kidnapped me for 2 reasons. The first reason was because I am an orthodontist, and you know the orthodontist maybe has a lot of money. And the second and the main reason is that I am a Christian.
My name is Reverend Nicholas Dadal. I am the pastor, St. George Antiochian Orthodox Church of Cicero, Illinois. St. George is a parish which has in its membership mostly people from the Middle East. Today, of course, a lot of people come because of the wars in the Middle East. I mean, it's an unstable area. Christians have been targets by everybody. Al-Khoury family, I met them for the first time on Pascha, but I can see there is so much sadness in the face of the man and the wife. Actually, they are very faithful Christians. The man is a doctor, the woman is a doctor. Both of them are doctors. They came to Chicago. They know nobody. Of course, now through the church probably mostly, they have many friends. But they have to start almost from zero.
So during this captivity, I got a lot of hard time. They bothering me, they threatened my life. They asked for very big ransom.
After I was sure that he was kidnapped, I called our priest Fadi al-Haddad. He was a great priest. He would take care of all his church family. He came immediately to our house.
A lot of times they put their guns in my head, wanted me to threaten me, to make me fear from them. They used to hit me during the captivity and open their cell phones, and my wife to hear how they tortured me to pressure her just to get their ransom.
It's hard. It's hard, really hard. I don't like to remember that moment. It was hard.
I tried to escape from this little room because they left me for 2 days without food, without water. So I wanted to escape. But when they came, I couldn't get out the room. It's very hard, a very small room and very locked. So when they came back, they discovered that I tried to get out of the room and they wanted to punish me. So they put me in a big hole under the ground and left me for 1 day, the whole day. Actually, it was a very miserable moment in my life. Yeah, I got a lot of hard time.
So how can I think my husband, he's with people without any heart. We always heard that a lot of murders and a lot of bad things happened with these people. So it was hard for me to think what will happen. After that, they will kill him easily.
Actually, I have never felt any fear. I felt that Jesus Christ was with me in the same room. I was very, very strong. I didn't cry. I didn't feel any fear. So just pray for Christ Jesus to keep my family, to keep my kids away from these radical peoples.
I understand that the priest who went to pay the ransom for his release, the priest himself, father, was murdered.
We called the priest Abu Nafadi, and Abu Nafadi was very brave and he decided to take the ransom by himself. So my dad refused to let him go by himself. They kidnapped the priest, my father, and the car, the money, everything. Abu Nafadi was a big goal for them, to threaten all Christian, because in our city he is the head of the Christian. After 5 days, they killed the priest.
My name is Tina Youssef. I am the principal of Sunday school at Margeeve Church with St. George. Aramaic is the language of Jesus Christ. So it's very important for us to learn it. So that's why we need our children to learn this language in order when they go listen to the priest, to the pastor, whoever is, doing the service, to understand what's going on. I want the other people to know that Assyrians were the first people that converted to Christianity. Since Jesus Christ was here on earth before resurrection, we used to have a king. They call it Abgar Okama.
Once upon a time, Abgar, king of Edessa, became afflicted with a skin disease. About this time, Abgar heard of a famous healer by the name of Jesus of Nazareth. Wanting to be healed, Abgar wrote a letter to Jesus asking for his help. In exchange, Abgar offered Jesus asylum in his palace. To the king's surprise, Jesus wrote back, commending Abgar for his faith and promising to send Thaddeus, one of Jesus' 72 disciples. Thaddeus journeyed to Edessa, and God healed the king. And so, Abgar, king of Edessa, became the first Christian king, and faith in Jesus spread across the east.
As a Syrian, we were the first believer in Jesus Christ. And so we are just like the generation left from those days until now. And as I myself, I grew up in as a Syrian family, and we have always went to church, after my parents and their parents. And as you see, my kids are still following the same path that my great-great-grandfathers did until nowadays. And I hope it will continue until, eternity.
My name is Marianne Abraham, and I am a member of the Holy Apostolic Catholic Assyrian Church of the East. The Church of the East, the Assyrian Church of the East, is one of the oldest churches around. I was born and raised in this church. Growing up, we didn't have a choice whether or not we wanted to come to church. We came. My mom wanted to instill in us the love of Christ and the love of going to church. Her grandfather was a priest. And one thing that I remember her telling us from when we were really young, and I want to say I was maybe about 10 or 11 years old, is she goes, I see so many people around here who were born and raised in this church but don't understand. She goes, you are not a rock. You are a human being. You were meant to participate. This is for the rest of your life. This has to be a part of your life.
My name is Jamil Jundi, and I've been a Syrian church, Margeeve, and I've been working here for many years to do my duty in the church. Also with the U.S. military, I was an interpreter with the U.S. military, and then first ID and third ID. And I was in Samara, and Samara is like a very hot place was that time. And we did our job there for the USA government. And we thanks for that job we did, and we came back to United States still life.
My name is Father George Suleiman, or in Assyrian they call me Father Giwergi Suleiman. I am the parish priest of Margeeve Cathedral, which is St. George Cathedral in English. Church is about people, getting people, get to know people, be close to them, and then people will enjoy coming to your church, will enjoy worshiping with you. That's how we started in Syria, and God always put in my way people who taught me something, even like a little bit, small things, but those things, add up to make me who I am today. I personally believe that when we pray in Aramaic, it's not just what we say, but it's that we are connecting with this through this language. Language is a very powerful thing. We are connecting with this language through a lineage of all these believers from the beginning of Christianity till today.
This is to me the most important thing, to love your neighbors, to love each other, to come close to each other. And we learned a lot from this nation, and they can learn a lot from us.
We're the same. We really are. It's just a reflection of culture, I think, more than anything. I mean, we're taught to show people the love of Christ, the unconditional love of Christ. And, we're taught to understand that God is the center of our world. And we're taught that we need to love our neighbors. And we're taught to fast and pray and to ask God for guidance. And I feel like those themes are, common in every church. So there's cultural differences, but we're the same.
My name is Rebecca Michaels. I'm a member of St. Mark Coptic Orthodox Church here in Chicago. We have claims to be one of the oldest Christian churches in the world. Our evangelist is St. Mark the Apostle. So St. Mark was one of the 70 original apostles that's mentioned in the Gospels. After the crucifixion of Christ, he went back to his homeland, which is northern Africa, Libya, and Egypt, and he brought Christianity. It was welcomed in Egypt, and Christianity spread and flourished there. We believe that our Pope today, Pope Tawadros II, is the 118th successor of St. Mark, direct succession. If you take the ancient Egyptian language, the hieroglyphic language, Coptic essentially is the hieroglyphic language using Greek letters. They used to call us Egyptos, which is a Greek word, which eventually evolved into the word Coptic. I'm a first-generation born Egyptian. I was born here in Chicago, and this church that we are sitting in now is my church. A lot of Americans put a lot of emphasis on freedom of speech, freedom of the press. These are all very, very important basic constitutional rights. But I would say for Coptic Christians, the separation of church and state is invaluable. This is something that we believe maybe a lot of Americans may take for granted because they are allowed to practice their religion freely or are allowed to not practice religion at all. The architecture of all Coptic churches must be based on one of three plans: the shape of a cross, the shape of an ark, or the shape of the circle, which represents the Eucharist, no beginning and no end. What you see here is an iconostasis, that's what we call it. It has all of the icons, and it separates the apse from the main part of the sanctuary. Behind the curtain is the nave. The icons of the Coptic tradition are very simplistic in nature and mean to tell a story. We see the gold leaf. There are no borders on Coptic icons. The gold leaf goes from side to side and top to bottom. The most important thing to know about Coptic iconography is that you will always see Christ, the teacher, on the right, and the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus on the left. The patron saint of the church should also go on the iconostasis. In this particular case, it's St. Mark. St. Mark is always depicted with a lion because the story goes that he met a lion in the wilderness and was able to tame the lion, and so he's always depicted with a lion. Behind me is the sanctuary. Only a priest or an ordained deacon can enter this place. However, as mentioned previously, the veil is open to the congregation, which represents the unity of Christ with the people after the crucifixion. We as Copts believe that the divinity and humanity of Christ never separated, neither for a moment or a twinkling of an eye. We depict Jesus Christ on the heavenly throne to show that there is no separation between the Father and the Son. Here we have the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus, and as you can see, people will write prayers and stick them on the icon, light a candle, and ask for the intercession of the Virgin Mary. Inside the reliquary, we'll have a relic, which is a piece of clothing or a piece of the body of one of the saints that we take blessings from. We are standing in the baptistry of the church. The baptistry architecturally will always be placed outside of the church because people who have not been baptized have not been admitted into the rites of the church. We baptize our babies at the age of 40 days for a boy, 80 days for a girl. And if you're a convert, an adult convert to Christianity, you would also be baptized in this baptistry.
Our roots go back to the 1st century, and we kept the faith from generation to generation as it was handed to us by Saint Mark the Apostle. And we fought for that for so many centuries. And since Christianity entered into Egypt, it has never been easy with the Christian people in Egypt.
We're one of the oldest churches in the world. We value our Christianity more than life itself. We fought for it. We shed blood for it for years. And we thank God for the persecution that the church has faced, because this is the reason that our church has not changed in 2,000 years.
The Armenian church is one of the ancient churches. The story begins in the latter part of the 3rd century. A group of nuns who were fleeing from the Emperor Diocletian happened to stumble within the kingdom of Armenia, and King Dirtad was to return them back to Diocletian for punishment because they were spreading the word of Christianity. Upon capturing them, his eyes gazed upon one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen, the nun, Ripsime. and immediately fell head over heels in love with her and asked her to become his queen. Ripsime said, well, I'm a Christian and how could I ever marry a pagan? The answer was no. And in a fit of rage, King Dirtad had them all slaughtered immediately, all 40 nuns. And Gregory, who was a secret Christian, the king decided that he was going to sentence Gregory to death and had him thrown into a deep, dark pit. When the king, realizing that he had killed the most beautiful woman that he had ever gazed his eyes upon, he went insane. And the king's sister, who was a secret Christian herself, knew that Gregory was alive in that pit. And so after 13 years, he was brought out of the pit. He prayed over King Dirtad. He was miraculously cured, and the king said, I want to believe in your God. As the pastor of St. Gregory, I am really blessed with so many faith-filled families. You know, a church is a church, and it's wonderful. And you know, unfortunately, some people think that this is where we get our spirituality. No, in the Armenian tradition, the spirituality comes from the home. A home blessing in the Armenian tradition takes place after the 5 major feast days. Typically, we have bread, salt, and water, which are the basic necessities of life. What makes a home is the family. And so we bless the 3 basic necessities of life, and then sit down and we share a meal together.
I think the importance of Armenia goes back to our roots and our family, as we have 3 generations of Armenians here. It has meant perseverance through difficult times. When my father was a survivor of the genocide, came to this country in 1920 after having survived the genocide and having had his entire family Parish. He was the sole survivor, and he used his faith and belief and confidence and perseverance to survive in this country and to provide ample opportunities to myself and obviously to our family now. And it's that perseverance that I think all Armenians possess.
Faith means everything. If you have the faith, then everything follow that. If you believe in the Bible, you read the Bible, you believe in God, and all the faith, according to that, you follow your life. Family means everything. Closeness, everything comes from the family. That's the foundation of your future, your everything.
Family is important because it's a great foundation to really learn and grow your faith. You know, you start at a young age learning about the teachings and the Bible, and just, you know, being in a family that's very religious and, you know, very focused on what Christ has taught us is a really good way to grow.
I truly believe that the Armenian heritage is that never give up spirit.
Yes.
And that is so ingrained in the history of the Armenians. My father went through the genocide in Turkey. It is a story common to many, many Armenians. He's not alone. Over 1.5 million Armenians were massacred. His family died. His father was taken away. He survived. He was saved by the American Red Cross in an Armenian church and had the opportunity to come to this country. And his story is not a unique story. It is ingrained, I truly believe, in the Armenian spirit. And the ability of people with that shared background to come here, to thrive, to do well, to build upon that never give up spirit, I truly believe is an attribute of Armenians. As you look at the community as a whole, when you take a community as diverse and as broad and as vibrant as Chicago, it is a significant element of that community and reflects that community in that never give up spirit.
The most fun thing about being an Armenian is the food. We have such delicious food, so much great cooking, the quantities of food.
Also, it's the preparation of the food. It's not just the eating of the food. And the first time when Talar came to be with us for a weekend, when Mark and Talar had been dating, and we were so lucky when she came here to be with us, And we were in the kitchen, and it was the first time she was meeting us, and there were 3 generations. There was Kay, my mother-in-law, myself, and Talar. And the 3 women just blended so beautifully in the kitchen. It had been like we had been together all of our life. It was just seamless how we worked together. So we were preparing Armenian food together to nourish our bodies and souls. And then we broke bread and said grace and had a meal together, and I'll just never forget how special that was. Father Aaron is coming here tonight to do a home blessing in our home, and it's always a very special occasion when he comes here to perform that. When he performs the blessing, we have water, salt, and bread that he will bless with his cross, and we will have incense being lit at the time. And what's special with that is then afterwards Mark will go around the house with the incense and to take it into every room.
So once again, it's a privilege to be here to bless your home. And of course, in the Armenian tradition, we bless bread, salt, and water, the 3 necessities of life. And thereby, by blessing them, we are blessed. And consuming these items, we are blessed ourselves.
Special prayers and hymns are sung and said, and there will be some Bible reading. So it's very special. Traditionally, in the Armenian tradition, you do it 40 days after Christmas or 40 days after Easter.
People really get lost in the ceremony, and there's a lot to it.
Father Aaron is just like part of our family. We love him dearly, and he's had an important influence on all of us.
That's very important things for Armenian house, that bless all. We have to have a blessing home.
It's important that people of faith, whether they're Jewish or Muslim or Christian, go visit an Armenian church, go visit a Coptic church. Listen and open your hearts to how they experience their relationship with God. And it's going to make you a better person. It's going to make me a better person. It's going to make Chicago a better place and the world a better place.
We're glad you've been with us for this special edition of Sanctuary on the fabric of Eastern Christianity. Your thoughts and reactions to issues and ideas at the intersection of life and faith are important to us, and we want to hear from you. Email us at gcbm@ameritech.net. Visit our website at gcbm.org and write to us at Sanctuary in care of the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries, 77 West Washington, Chicago, Illinois, 60602. That's Sanctuary, the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries, 77 West Washington Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60602. I'm Lydia Talbot. Thanks for keeping faith with us today on Sanctuary. May peace be with you.
Thank you.